Hey there, friend. I want to ask you something. Have you ever noticed that some people in their 70s and 80s still seem sharp as a tack? They remember names, tell stories with vivid detail, and keep up with conversations like they're in their 40s. I remember visiting my old neighbor, Ruth, who was 86 at the time. She greeted me by name, remembered the last time we talked, and even asked how my grandson was doing. I couldn't help but wonder, how does she stay so mentally sharp while others her age start forgetting where they put their keys or what day it is? Well, after talking to doctors, researchers, and seniors who've maintained their memory well into old age, I found out something fascinating. It turns out that one of the most powerful tools for keeping your brain young isn't a special supplement, a high-tech brain game, or even a strict diet. It's connection. That's right, staying socially active, having meaningful conversations, spending time with friends, being part of a community has been shown to slow down memory loss, reduce the risk of dementia, and even improve mood and energy levels. Now, I know what you might be thinking. I'm not much of a social person, or my friends have moved away or passed on. And trust me, I understand. Life changes. People move. Circles shrink. But here's the good news. You don't need to be the life of the party or have dozens of friends to benefit from this kind of brain-boosting connection. Even small, regular interactions can make a big difference over time. In this video, we're going to explore how staying connected with others actually helps protect your brain and memory as you age. We'll talk about why loneliness speeds up cognitive decline, how conversation keeps your mind alert, and what you can do, even if you're naturally more reserved, to build and maintain relationships that support your mental health. Because the truth is, our brains are wired for connection. And when we stay engaged with other people, we're not just passing time, we're strengthening our minds in ways we may not even realize. Let's start with something simple. The idea that talking itself is a workout for your brain. Think about it. When you're having a real conversation, whether it's with a neighbor, a grandchild, or someone sitting next to you at church, you're listening, responding, remembering details, following the flow of ideas. All of that is mental exercise. It's like going to the gym, but for your brain. One study followed a group of older adults over several years and found that those who had regular, meaningful conversations showed significantly slower rates of memory decline than those who didn't. The more they interacted, the sharper their minds stayed. And it wasn't about how many people they knew, it was about the quality of those interactions. So maybe you don't need to join 10 clubs or attend every event in town, but making space for a few deep, thoughtful conversations each week could be one of the best things you do for your brain. Let me share a quick story. My uncle used to live alone after his wife passed. He told me he started feeling forgetful, missing appointments, losing track of his medication schedule. Then he joined a weekly coffee group at his local senior center. Just once a week, sitting around a table with 5 or 6 others, chatting about everything from politics to gardening to old memories. After a few months, he told me, "You know what? I feel like I'm thinking more clearly again. Like my brain is waking up." He wasn't doing anything drastic, just showing up, engaging, connecting. And yet it made a noticeable difference in how he felt and how well he could think and remember. So, how can you start incorporating more of this kind of interaction into your own life? Maybe it starts with a phone call, a visit to a neighbor, joining a book club or hobby group, volunteering somewhere, even participating in online communities designed for seniors who want to stay connected. The key is consistency. You don't have to do it every day, but making social time a regular part of your week can go a long way towards protecting your memory and keeping your brain strong. Now, before we continue, let me remind you that this isn't about forcing yourself into situations that feel uncomfortable. If crowds overwhelm you, that's okay. If you prefer one-on-one chats over large gatherings, that works too. What matters is finding the type of connection that feels right for you, and then making it a habit. In the next part, we'll dive deeper into how loneliness affects the brain, what science says about its impact on aging, and practical ways to rebuild your sense of connection, even if you've been feeling isolated for a while. So stick with me. We've got more to cover.
All right, friend. In the last part, we started talking about how talking, real conversation, is like a mental workout that helps keep your brain sharp. We also touched on how staying socially connected isn't just good for your mood, it's actually protective for your memory and cognitive health. Now, let's dive deeper into something that affects more seniors than people realize: loneliness. Yes, loneliness. Not just occasional solitude or time spent alone, but that ongoing feeling of being disconnected from others. And here's what research is now showing us. Chronic loneliness doesn't just make you feel sad, it can literally speed up the aging of your brain. One study, published in the journal Nature Aging, found that older adults who reported feeling lonely had faster cognitive decline over time than those who felt socially connected, even when other factors like physical health and education were taken into account. That means loneliness isn't just an emotional issue, it's a brain issue, and it's one that we need to take seriously as we get older. Let me tell you about a woman named Evelyn I met at a senior wellness fair. She was 78 and lived alone after her husband passed away several years ago. She told me she hadn't spoken to anyone outside of grocery store small talk in weeks. "I don't forget things all the time," she said, "but I've noticed I'm not as quick to remember names or follow conversations the way I used to." After starting weekly visits with a local volunteer group, people who would come by just to chat and play cards, she began noticing changes. "It's not that my memory got younger," she said with a smile, "but I feel like I'm using it again." And that's exactly what's happening. When you're lonely, your brain goes quiet. It stops getting the stimulation it needs to stay alert, active, and engaged. But when you start interacting regularly, even if it's just a few times a week, your brain perks up again. So how do you rebuild that sense of connection, especially if you've been feeling isolated for a while? Well, here are a few practical ideas that many seniors have found helpful. First, consider joining a local group or activity at your community center, church, or library. These places often host everything from coffee meetups to gardening clubs, walking groups, or even art classes. You don't have to be an expert, you just have to show up. Second, try phone or video calls with family and friends. If mobility or location make visiting difficult, regular check-ins can still provide that sense of connection. One man I spoke to started having a weekly video call with his grandson, and he said it gave him something to look forward to every Sunday. Third, look into volunteer opportunities. Believe it or not, helping others can be one of the most powerful ways to feel needed, valued, and connected. Whether it's reading to kids at the library, delivering meals, or mentoring someone in your area of expertise, giving your time can bring back a sense of purpose, and that has a direct effect on your brain health. And fourth, explore online communities designed specifically for seniors. There are social platforms, forums, and even virtual book clubs where you can interact with people who share your interests, all from the comfort of home. Now, I know some of these might sound a little intimidating at first, especially if you haven't been very social lately. But here's the thing, you don't have to jump into a big crowd or force yourself into situations that feel uncomfortable. Start small. Try one new thing each week. Call someone you haven't talked to in a while. Attend a meeting once a month. Even a short walk with a neighbor counts. The key is consistency. Just like exercise builds strength over time, social interaction builds brain resilience. And the longer you stick with it, the more natural and beneficial it becomes. Now, before we move on to the final part, let me recap what we've covered so far. We started by looking at how conversation itself is a kind of brain workout, keeping your mind active and engaged. Then we explored the impact of loneliness on cognitive health and why staying connected is so important as we age. And finally, we went over a few practical steps you can take to begin rebuilding your social life, no matter where you're starting from. In the next and final part, we'll wrap things up by talking about how deep relationships, those close, meaningful bonds, can protect your brain even further, and how you can nurture them in your everyday life. So stick with me, we're almost there.
All right, friend. We've already covered two powerful ways that social connection supports brain health: regular conversation as mental exercise, and staying engaged with others to prevent the damaging effects of loneliness. Now let's talk about the final and perhaps most meaningful piece of the puzzle: deep relationships. You see, while casual chats and community interactions are incredibly valuable, there's something extra special about those close, long-term bonds, the kind you have with a lifelong friend, a sibling, a child, or even a partner. These are the people who really know you, who remember your stories, share in your joys and sorrows, and offer emotional support when life gets tough. And science is showing us that these deep connections do more than just make us feel loved. They actually help protect our brains from decline. Studies have found that seniors who maintain strong emotional bonds tend to experience slower memory loss and better overall cognitive function. Why? Because these relationships provide consistent emotional stimulation, reduce stress, and give the brain something meaningful to engage with: memories, shared experiences, ongoing conversations. Let me tell you about a man named George I met at a local senior center. He was 82 and still had a weekly coffee date with his childhood friend, someone he'd known since they were 5 years old. They talked about everything: sports, politics, family updates, and memories from decades ago. When I asked him why he kept up the tradition, he said, "It keeps my mind going. We're always telling stories, reminding each other of things we'd forgotten. It's like we keep each other sharp." And he wasn't exaggerating. Research shows that reminiscing and storytelling with someone who shares your history actually activates parts of the brain involved in memory and emotional processing. It's like a gentle, joyful workout for your mind. So how can you nurture these deeper relationships in your own life? Maybe it starts by reaching out more often to someone you care about, calling your sister once a week instead of once a month, writing letters if phone calls feel too tiring, or reconnecting with an old friend you've lost touch with. Or maybe it means opening up a little more to someone who's already close, sharing your thoughts, feelings, and memories in a way that strengthens the bond and gives both of you something meaningful to hold on to. Even if you don't have many people like that in your life right now, it's never too late to build new, meaningful connections. Joining a small group where people get to know each other over time, like a faith group, hobby club, or even a regular walking buddy, can create the kind of relationship that feeds your brain and your heart. Because here's what so many people overlook: social connection isn't just about staying busy or filling time. It's about feeling seen, heard, and valued. And when we feel that way, our brains respond positively. Our mood lifts, our thinking becomes clearer, and our memory improves, not because of magic, but because of biology. So to recap everything we've talked about, we started by looking at how talking, real, thoughtful conversation, is like a mental gym session that keeps your brain alert and active. Then we explored how loneliness affects brain aging and what you can do, even in small ways, to rebuild connection and slow cognitive decline. And finally, we discussed the power of deep relationships, those meaningful, lasting bonds that not only bring joy, but also protect your memory and brain health over time. Each of these pieces plays a role in keeping your mind young, and none of them require drastic changes or expensive programs. Just a willingness to show up, engage, and stay connected in whatever way feels right for you. If you found this helpful, and I hope you did, I'd love for you to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel so you never miss another tip to help you live your best life after 60. And if you've experienced the benefits of staying socially connected, whether through daily chats, friendships, or deep relationships, please share your story below. Your words might inspire someone else to take that first step toward reconnection. Because the truth is, it's never too late to build a richer, more connected life. Whether you're starting from scratch or strengthening what's already there, every conversation, every visit, every moment of connection is a gift, not just for your brain, but for your whole being. Thank you so much for being here today. Take care of yourself, stay curious, and keep making choices that honor your body, your mind, and your happiness. Until next time, stay strong, stay connected, and live your best life.